Aaron Pryor was once called boxing's worst junkie, and the unbelievable crimes he committed during his drug-fueled downfall will shock you. This Hall of Fame fighter went from earning millions in the ring to weighing less than 100 pounds, homeless on the streets, contemplating suicide after losing everything to cocaine addiction. But before we dive into his darkest moments, let me tell you about the man who became one of boxing's most explosive fighters. Aaron Pryor, known as the Hawk, grew up in Cincinnati's dangerous Over-the-Rhine neighborhood. His childhood was a complete disaster of drinking and partying that he desperately wanted to escape. Boxing became his refuge from a home with almost no parental guidance. He found order in the chaos of the ring, calling it a clean sport that gave him the structure his family life never provided. The emotional and physical pain of his difficult upbringing became fuel for his future success. Friends from his youth described him as the kindest person they had ever known outside the ring, a shocking contrast to the terrifying warrior he would become between the ropes. He learned to absorb all that pain and convert it into pure energy when he fought. Despite his troubled upbringing, Pryor's natural talent was undeniable. He started fighting at 13 and quickly became an amateur sensation. He won 2 National Golden Gloves championships, even defeating future world champion Thomas Hearns along the way. But in 1976, a controversial loss to Howard Davis Jr. in the Olympic trials crushed his Olympic dreams and left a permanent scar on his psyche. This defeat left him bitter and feeling like nobody wanted to give him a break. The loss shaped his entire mentality as a professional fighter. He decided he would make his own break, no matter what it took. This sense of being an overlooked outsider fueled his ferocity and gave him powerful motivation to prove every doubter wrong. Turning pro in 1976, Pryor destroyed everyone in his path with a relentless, buzzsaw fighting style that overwhelmed opponents. His technique was far more complex than simple aggression. He was a perpetual motion machine who threw an absurd volume of hard punches from every angle imaginable. One of his signature moves was dip punching. Pryor would lower his stance, making opponents think he was targeting the body. As he rose, he would suddenly quicken his tempo, throwing a swift right hand from a constantly rising angle that made it nearly impossible to anticipate where the punch would land. His continuous torso and head rolls created a deceptive rhythm that made it difficult for rivals to spot when he was generating momentum for a punch. Make sure to subscribe to our channel for more shocking stories about athletes who battled their inner demons and the dark secrets that destroyed their lives. In his 25th professional fight, Pryor challenged Antonio Cervantes for the world title. After getting knocked down in the first round, Pryor came back like a man possessed. He seemed to greet the knockdown with a kind of sadistic glee before rising to stop the champion in the 4th round in his hometown of Cincinnati. His victory was described as a thing of beauty that showcased his killer instinct. Pryor successfully defended his title 5 times, each defense ending in a knockout. But his defining moments came in 2 legendary wars against Alexis Arguello, a beloved elder statesman of boxing, trying to make history by winning titles in 4 different weight classes. The contrast between the 2 fighters could not have been starker. Arguello was admired for his class and technical skill, while Pryor was seen as the misfit and outsider with a bitter reputation. These fights turned into some of the most brutal battles ever seen in a boxing ring. The first fight in Miami's Orange Bowl was filled with thousands of Latin American fans eager to witness Arguello's historic quest. While Arguello was fighting for history and to be crowned a superstar, Pryor was motivated by an equally potent drive to make himself matter. The fight was an absolute war from the opening bell. Pryor threw 130 punches in just the opening round, with Arguello close behind with 108, setting a relentless tempo that continued for round after furious round. Despite Pryor's speed and relentless buzzsaw style, Arguello's fans held out hope for a single devastating right hand that could end everything. But whenever Arguello landed a shot that would have stunned a rhinoceros, Pryor would just smile and come back for more. This was the psychological engine that powered Pryor's success. He was described as bottled rage in the ring, a fighter who used his fury as a source of energy. The ring was a space he could conquer and call his own, a direct extension of his lifelong struggle for recognition. In the later rounds, particularly rounds 11 through 13, Arguello appeared to gain control, landing a tremendous punch in the 13th that buckled Pryor's knees. It seemed Arguello was on the verge of making history, but Pryor's will proved unbreakable. In the 14th round, a visibly fatigued Arguello couldn't answer Pryor's renewed assault, which ended in a grisly series of unanswered punches that forced the referee to stop the fight. But this stunning victory came with a dark cloud of controversy that would forever shadow his greatest achievement. Between rounds, Pryor's notorious trainer, Panama Lewis, was heard asking for a different water bottle, saying, "No, not that one, the one I mixed." Pryor emerged from his corner with a sudden burst of energy that led to intense speculation about foul play. Adding to the suspicion, Pryor's team reportedly didn't take a drug test following the bout, claiming they hadn't been approached for a urine sample. The controversy was amplified by Panama Lewis's long history of cheating, including a lifetime ban from boxing for removing padding from Luis Resto's gloves in a separate fight. Later, revelations suggested Lewis would crush antihistamine pills into water to increase lung capacity in later rounds. This enduring controversy became a convenient explanation for Arguello's supporters, who believed that Pryor's win was not a result of his superiority but of Lewis's foul play. Despite the WBA's initial refusal to rank Arguello for a rematch, public demand for a second action-packed war was undeniable. The rematch in September 1983 gave Arguello a chance to rectify what many saw as an unjust outcome. However, the second fight cemented Pryor's dominance beyond any doubt. Pryor knocked Arguello down in the 4th round and delivered an even more savage beating, winning by knockout in the 10th round. This victory transcended the controversy of the first fight. These two fights earned Pryor over $5 million and cemented his place among boxing's elite. But this massive success would become the catalyst for his complete destruction. After the second Arguello fight, Pryor began using free-base cocaine. The addiction took hold of his life with terrifying speed and brutality. People were offering him cocaine every day and everywhere he went. His fame, rather than protecting him, made him a target for enablers who fed his addiction. The man who had been a controlled fury in the ring became completely out of control outside of it. The same wellspring of inner turmoil that fueled his genius as a fighter ultimately drove him to ruin. The consequences were catastrophic and swift. By 1984, his career was completely hamstrung by legal challenges from signing multiple contracts with different promoters while high on drugs. His abilities in the ring declined rapidly as the cocaine ravaged his body and mind. He was stripped of his WBA title for inactivity and suffered the only loss of his professional career in 1987 to unheralded Bobby Joe Young after a 2.5-year layoff. But the professional losses were nothing compared to what the addiction did to his personal life. His son Aaron Jr. was sent away from Miami to live with his grandparents in Cincinnati to protect him from his father's drug-fueled lifestyle. The family was torn apart by Pryor's destructive behavior and inability to control his addiction. At his lowest point, Pryor lost millions of dollars and became homeless, his weight dropping to less than 100 pounds as he lived on the streets like a forgotten ghost. The crimes and arrests began piling up relentlessly. He was arrested multiple times for drug-related offenses and spent 3 months in jail. He suffered from bleeding ulcers that nearly killed him. There were charges of kidnapping and sexual assault, though these were later dropped. He contemplated suicide multiple times, seeing no way out of the hell he had created for himself. His attempts at comebacks were brief and pathetic. Eye injuries from years of fighting and drug abuse forced him into permanent retirement in 1990. But in 1993, something remarkable happened. Aaron Pryor permanently overcame his addiction. His son would later call this his father's best win, more amazing than his entire boxing career. It was a monumental defeat of the demons that had nearly destroyed him, showcasing true strength that surpassed any knockout he had ever delivered. With his sobriety firmly established, Pryor dedicated his life to helping others avoid his mistakes. He became an eloquent public speaker, campaigning against the dangers of drugs and sharing his cautionary tale. The man who had been bottled rage transformed into an ordained Baptist minister, mentoring younger boxers and offering his story as proof that redemption was possible. His family witnessed this incredible transformation firsthand. His wife Frankie noted that while he was a public figure to millions, he became a wonderful husband, dad, and grandfather to his family. The final chapter of his story brought a beautiful resolution to his most defining rivalry when he and Alexis Arguello forged a deep friendship. They would meet several times a year, and Pryor even traveled to Nicaragua to support Arguello's political career. Aaron Pryor died on October 9, 2016, at age 60 after a long battle with heart disease. The flags at the International Boxing Hall of Fame were flown at half-staff in his honor, a final recognition of the Hawk's enduring impact on boxing, and a quiet conclusion to a life that had been anything but quiet. His legacy stands as both a warning and an inspiration. He proved that even the most devastating falls can be overcome with determination and faith. If you found Aaron Pryor's story of redemption inspiring, please like this video and comment with your thoughts on his legacy. Do you believe a person can truly overcome their past and find redemption after hitting rock bottom?